It has been weeks and months of silence, and no one seems to know where the tribal is, and with betrayal from within the bloodline, the strongest force in WWE seems to be falling apart. What if the very enforcer Roman Reigns trusted to protect his kingdom was secretly aligning with his greatest enemy? Tonight, a storm rips through the WWE Universe as shocking backstage reports and insider leaks confirm the unthinkable. Solo Sikoa, the silent destroyer of the bloodline, has turned. But not just turned. He's betrayed Jacob Fatu in a move that insiders say was planned for weeks. Worse yet, new reports suggest Solo has quietly joined forces with none other than Seth Rollins, Roman's longtime rival, and the architect of betrayal himself. The man who burned down the Shield. The man who has vowed for months to dismantle the empire Roman built. And now, if the whispers from inside WWE production trucks and private locker room meetings are true, Roman Reigns has finally responded. He's kicked Solo Sikoa out of the bloodline. Effective immediately. Security reportedly escorted Solo from the private family suite during a high-tension SmackDown taping in Boston. Cameras didn't catch it. But backstage crew? They saw everything. And what they saw left even the most hardened veterans speechless. Before we go deeper, take a breath. This is not just another bloodline twist. This is the crumbling of a dynasty. Imagine it, the arena lights are dim. The tribal music hits. Roman Reigns stands alone. No Paul Heyman. No Solo. No Jacob. For the first time in nearly 4 years, the tribal chief appears not as a commander of dominance, but as a man under siege. Because for months, tension had been building. Whispers grew louder that Solo Sikoa was no longer satisfied living in Roman's shadow. That he was tired of being the silent soldier while Reigns and Heyman pulled strings behind the scenes, but few predicted Solo's target wouldn't be Roman. It was Jacob Fatu. The cousin who stood beside him when others walked away. The brother who defended his name when fans questioned his loyalty. And when Solo attacked Jacob Fatu in cold blood on last week's Raw, WWE fans were stunned, but insiders? They weren't. Because they'd been tracking something far darker brewing beneath the surface. According to multiple internal reports leaked to wrestling news outlets under anonymity, Solo Sikoa had secretly met with Seth Rollins multiple times backstage at live events, under the pretense of neutral business. But a production staffer caught on camera what appeared to be an extended handshake, followed by hushed whispers near the catering area. WWE security footage from earlier this month, never aired publicly, reportedly shows Solo entering a black SUV registered under the same name used for Rollins' travel operations. Coincidence? Or quiet recruitment? The same week Jacob Fatu was brutally attacked, Seth Rollins dropped a chilling line in his promo. Some people are finally waking up and realizing who the real leaders are. At the time, it seemed like bravado. But now? Fans are scrambling to revisit that line. Because just 2 days later, Solo Sikoa laid out Jacob with a chair, twice. Without warning. No promo. No justification. No tribal acknowledgement. And this morning? Roman Reigns made his move. According to WWE insiders, Roman summoned Heyman, security, and 3 close family advisors into his private locker room during rehearsals. Solo was brought in, quiet, cold, unreadable. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. One insider says Roman asked one question: "Did you choose him?" Solo reportedly nodded once. And Roman responded with 4 devastating words: "Then you're out. Now." Security then escorted Solo from the arena. Paul Heyman reportedly said nothing. He turned away. That's all. And just like that, the silent soldier, the right hand of pain, the enforcer of the bloodline, was exiled. But the real question is why? Why would Solo betray Jacob? Why risk his place at the table? The bloodline has dominated WWE since 2020. Roman Reigns held the undisputed Universal title longer than anyone in modern history. Solo had power, influence, protection. So what could make him leave it all behind? The answer may lie in quiet frustration, and in Seth Rollins' rising faction. Let's rewind. After Roman took time off due to injury earlier this year, rumors swirled that creative control within the Bloodline started shifting. Paul Heyman began leaning more heavily on Solo, whispering strategy in his ear during promos, giving him more solo matches, teasing him as the next great leader. But when Jacob Fatu debuted and fans exploded with support, that dynamic changed. Suddenly, Solo was no longer the centerpiece. He was backup. Again. To another cousin. Another superstar drenched in hype. Multiple backstage sources claim Solo became increasingly cold toward Jacob in recent weeks. Reports say he skipped team meetings, brushed off tag strategy calls, and walked out of one pre-show locker room review just as Jacob was giving notes. But no one saw this level of betrayal coming. Not Jacob. And definitely not Roman and Seth Rollins. He's been watching it all unfold with a predator's eye since forming his new anti-Bloodline alliance, stacked with rising monsters like Bronson Reed and the reborn Messiah disciples. Seth has made one thing clear: he wants the dynasty to fall. Not with a single match, but with psychological warfare. Divide and conquer. In recent weeks, Rollins has taunted Reigns, not with challenges, but with chess moves. Recruiting from within. And now it seems, he got what he wanted. Solo Sikoa, one of Roman's most loyal soldiers, flipped. Just like that, backstage producers described the fallout as catastrophic. One top writer said, Roman looked blank. Like someone pulled the foundation out from under him. Paul Heyman? Rumor has it he's gone silent in creative meetings, refusing to even say Solo's name. The feeling inside WWE HQ is that this betrayal isn't just a storyline. It's a message. One that says, the Bloodline is no longer untouchable. But here's where the story turns even darker. There are whispers, still unconfirmed but persistent, that Solo isn't the only one. Multiple sources hint that one more Bloodline member may already be considering defecting to Seth Rollins' faction. Some speculate it's Jimmy Uso, still nursing grudges from his last fallout with Roman. Others fear it might be Jacob Fatu, still untested, still unpredictable. Either way, Rollins appears to be assembling an army not to beat Roman in the ring, but to humiliate him from within, which leaves the WWE Universe with one burning question: what now? With Solo gone, Jacob Fatu out injured, and Heyman shaken, Roman Reigns stands more alone than ever. For years, he claimed to be the head of the table. The tribal chief. The final boss. But now? His table has cracks. His empire is bleeding. And Seth Rollins, smiling, scheming, relentless, is circling like a hawk. In the weeks ahead, expect the tension to explode. Already, WWE is teasing a confrontation between Roman and Seth at SummerSlam. But what happens if Solo is there, standing beside Seth? What happens if Roman must now fight the man he once called family, and the brother who knows all his weaknesses, because Solo Sikoa wasn't just muscle. He was Roman's insurance policy. The silent executor of punishment. The man who enforced fear. And now? He's using that knowledge against him. But here's the twist: Roman Reigns may be wounded, but he's not done. Multiple sources say Roman is already planning retaliation. That he's calling in reinforcements. That he's rebuilding the Bloodline, without Solo. Rumors are swirling that names like Tanga Loa, Jacob Fatu, and even Naomi are being considered for a restructured, rebalanced family faction that's more aggressive, more united. And more ruthless than ever, because if history has taught us anything, it's that Roman doesn't forgive. And he never forgets. This betrayal might have ended Solo's place in the Bloodline, but it may have just awakened the most dangerous version of Roman Reigns we've ever seen. And now? The war has truly begun. The fallout from Solo Sikoa's betrayal didn't just rattle the Bloodline, it shook the very foundations of what Roman Reigns thought he understood about family, about loyalty, and about the war he's been fighting for over 3 years. But in the shadows of Roman's fury, a bigger storm brews. One far more calculated. Because Seth Rollins didn't just gain a powerhouse enforcer, he gained insider access to every secret, every weakness, every fracture within the Bloodline machine and Solo Sikoa? He's not talking. Not to Roman. Not to Heyman. Not even on camera. Since the night of Jacob Fatu's ambush, Solo has remained silent, letting Rollins do the talking for him. And that silence is what scares WWE officials the most. Because it's not random. It's strategic. Sources close to creative have confirmed that Solo has refused all press interviews, pre-show promos, and even fan Q&As. One anonymous insider said, he's being rebranded from the inside out. Rollins is molding him into a psychological weapon. Not just a threat, but a specter of fear. This goes beyond steel chairs and backstage ambushes. This is a mental war. And Jacob Fatu? He's still missing from WWE programming. After the savage attack at Raw, reports claim Jacob suffered real injuries, not just storyline bumps. Internal sources suggest he was treated for rib damage and mild concussion symptoms, with doctors advising a minimum 2-week recovery before he can even train again. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound. Jacob had trusted Solo. He'd called him a brother. And for his loyalty, he got left bleeding on the mat while Seth Rollins stood backstage smirking. But Roman isn't waiting for Jacob to return to retaliate. In a private creative meeting held just days after Solo's expulsion, Roman allegedly told WWE executives, "We settle this by blood. No more handshakes. No more TV drama. They want a war? I'll give them a war they can't survive." It was this comment, insiders claim, that kickstarted a rapid push to rebuild the Bloodline into something new. Something faster. Meaner. More unpredictable. 3 names keep coming up in these internal conversations: Tanga Loa, Zilla Fatu, and Naomi. Tanga Loa, brother to Tama Tonga, is no stranger to war. He's brutal, disciplined, and fiercely loyal to his family. His last WWE appearance was years ago, but recent sightings of him at the WWE Performance Center in Florida have sparked rumors that his return is imminent. Insiders say Roman views Tanga as the perfect soldier, a man with no history of betrayal, no personal ambition for the spotlight, and a burning desire to settle scores. Then there's Zilla Fatu, the wildcard. Zilla is the son of the late Umaga, a legacy warrior with a chip on his shoulder and a drive to carve his own name into the Bloodline mythology. Roman hasn't always trusted Zilla, his hot-headedness, his unpredictability, but recent talks suggest the tribal chief now sees him as essential to fighting back against Seth's expanding faction. "If Solo thinks he can take what I built," Roman allegedly told Heyman, "then I'll remind him of who really holds the keys to this kingdom." But the most surprising development? The quiet recruitment of Naomi. Yes, Naomi. Jimmy Uso's wife. Former women's champion. And a woman who's been through hell trying to find her place in the chaos of this family war. Insiders claim Roman has reached out privately, offering her a seat at the table, not just as a performer, but as a strategic voice inside the Bloodline's next evolution. The logic? Naomi's loyalty runs deep. And after watching the betrayal unfold from the sidelines, she may be ready to take a more active role in protecting the family's legacy. And while this restructuring begins, Seth Rollins is already 2 moves ahead. Since bringing Solo into the fold, Seth has made one thing painfully clear: this isn't just about Roman. It's about dismantling everything that Roman built from the inside out. He's slowly assembling a new power faction, not just of brutes, but of tacticians. Bronson Reed. J.D. McDonough. Even whispers of Ricochet turning heel have surfaced. Every name Seth touches becomes an instrument in his symphony of chaos. And if that wasn't enough, there are now leaks, possibly deliberate, that Rollins and Solo are planning to invade SmackDown in the coming weeks. Not to issue challenges, but to humiliate Roman in his own yard. One source described the plan as an unannounced takeover, a segment that would see Solo and Seth destroy the last remaining relics of the old Bloodline. Titles, banners, chairs, everything symbolic of Roman's reign. If this happens, WWE fans will witness the most personal feud in years explode into something far bigger than title gold, because this isn't about championships anymore. This is about legacy. About betrayal. About a king watching his fortress burn from the inside while enemies dance in the flames, and yet, even now, some believe Roman is holding one final card. There are rumors, unconfirmed, yet persistent, that The Rock has been contacted. Not for a match, but for guidance. A ceremonial return to re-establish order. To bring Roman back from the brink. Because right now, Reigns isn't just angry. He's unstable. And WWE officials are reportedly torn between letting the story spiral into full chaos, or intervening before someone gets legitimately hurt in the fallout. One insider put it bluntly, Roman's done being the boss. He's becoming the executioner. So what comes next? A bloodline reborn? A full-blown war across Raw and SmackDown? A final, devastating confrontation at SummerSlam that tears the very heart out of WWE? Or something even darker, an alliance shattered beyond repair, with Solo rising not just as Seth's enforcer, but as the new architect of destruction? We'll find out soon enough, but one thing is clear: the tribal chief has been betrayed. His bloodline is bleeding. And now, vengeance is all he has left. As the WWE Universe spirals with theories and speculation, the true nature of this betrayal begins to reveal itself, not just as a blind act of aggression, but as a chess move, orchestrated with precision by Seth Rollins. Because this wasn't about beating Roman Reigns in the ring. This was about corrupting his legacy, infecting his family, and turning the Bloodline's most loyal enforcer into a merciless double agent. And it worked. Sources backstage say that in the weeks leading up to Jacob Fatu's attack, Rollins and Solo had been mapping out the game plan in secret. Quiet meetings in unmarked production trailers. Extended walk-and-talks backstage disguised as coincidence. But here's what no one expected: Solo wasn't coerced. He volunteered. And not just because of ambition, but because of something more personal: jealousy. For months, Solo had been watching as Jacob Fatu was welcomed with open arms. Immediately branded the future of the Bloodline, he was granted spotlight matches, praised by Paul Heyman, and even whispered to be Roman's true successor. To Solo, who had spilled blood and sweat in the name of the family, it felt like a slap in the face. And Seth Rollins, he didn't need to say much. Just a few words. A few promises. Maybe even just one truth: he'll never choose you. Those words, according to one WWE staffer, lit the fuse. And now that fuse has ignited a war that can't be undone. Backstage, the effects are already rippling through the locker room. Solo Sikoa has reportedly moved his gear to a new locker area, completely separate from any former Bloodline associates. He no longer travels with WWE SmackDown crew. Instead, he's flying with Rollins and Bronson Reed. Rollins, ever the puppeteer, has even arranged new entrance music for Solo, darker, heavier, more chaotic. A far cry from the tribal rhythm that once symbolized family. This new Solo? He's not just silent. He's seething, and WWE is loving it. Ratings have spiked. Merch sales for Bloodline vs. Rollins themed shirts are climbing. The WWE Universe is buzzing with questions. Will Roman retaliate at SummerSlam? Will Solo confront Jacob again in a rematch soaked in blood and betrayal? Or will Seth Rollins push things further, by targeting the very thing Roman holds most dear? Because here's what no one is talking about yet: Paul Heyman, the wise man, the strategist, the keeper of secrets. He has been eerily silent since Solo's expulsion. No interviews. No reactions. Nothing on social media. But internally? That silence is fueling massive speculation. Some believe Paul knew about Solo's resentment long before the betrayal and did nothing. Others believe he orchestrated the exile of Solo not out of loyalty to Roman, but out of fear that his own power base was crumbling. A new theory has even emerged from certain circles in WWE creative: what if Heyman was playing both sides? Feeding Solo just enough discontent, only to drive him away before Roman discovered the truth. Sacrificing the pawn to save the king. It's cold. It's manipulative. But it's exactly what Heyman is known for. Meanwhile, Rollins continues to twist the knife. This past Monday on Raw, he cut a promo that sent shockwaves through the locker room. Roman called himself the head of the table. but now he's dining alone. Solo Sikoa chose the winning side. The side that's gonna flip that table, break it into pieces, and use it to build something better. And the way he said Solo Sikoa, it wasn't just pride. It was ownership. A warning. A flex. He's not hiding anymore. He wants Roman to know, I took your brother. And next, I'll take your soul. Backstage officials are reportedly debating how far to push this story. One insider hinted that a full-on invasion segment is being drafted for the go-home show before SummerSlam. A moment where Rollins and Solo interrupt a Roman promo, walk straight into the ring, and lay down a challenge that could redefine the future of WWE. Bloodline vs. Rollins Rebellion, winner takes all. The stakes? Roman's legacy. Seth's revenge. Solo's final choice. And maybe, just maybe, the last breath of the dynasty that ruled WWE for 4 straight years. But where does Jacob Fatu fit in? He's the wild card. If he returns, and every sign says he will, it won't be with apologies. It'll be with vengeance. He's been quiet. But those close to him say he's burning with rage, training in secret, watching footage, and waiting for the right moment to strike back. And he won't come alone. Jacob has deep ties in wrestling circles far beyond WWE. Whispers have emerged that he's reached out to his own allies, names from his time in MLW and beyond. If he returns with reinforcements, the war between Roman and Rollins could turn into something much, much bigger. And in that chaos, there's one terrifying possibility nobody is prepared to face. What if Solo Sikoa isn't done betraying people? What if his alliance with Seth Rollins is just phase 1? What if the man Roman once called the final line of defense is now playing everyone? Some theorize Solo is biding his time, using Rollins' platform to rise, and will eventually turn on him too. Others fear something worse, that Solo is creating his own faction. A hybrid of the Bloodline's brutality and Rollins' chaos. Something new. Something violent. Something unstoppable. As WWE barrels towards SummerSlam, the lines in the sand are being drawn. Roman Reigns stands bruised, betrayed, but not broken. Seth Rollins, smug and strategic, holds the pieces of a plan years in the making. And Solo Sikoa? He's the nuclear option, the man who shattered family bonds. Who crossed the line. Who knows all the secrets, and has no fear left in him. This isn't just a story about revenge anymore. It's about power. It's about blood. And it's about the fall of an empire, and the rise of a new warlord. The final battle hasn't begun, but the battlefield is. Already soaked in betrayal. SummerSlam. The stage where legacies are written and shattered. For weeks, WWE had teased it, an explosive confrontation between the wounded tribal chief Roman Reigns and the man who manipulated his family from the shadows, Seth Rollins. But no one predicted how deeply the knife would twist. No one foresaw how Roman's retaliation would unfold, not with a promo, not with a match, but with a trap. A tribal punishment. Ancient. Cold. Unforgiving, because this time, Roman Reigns didn't come to fight for titles. He came to destroy a traitor. The show opened with chaos. Rollins and Solo, fresh off weeks of dominance, marched down the ramp draped in arrogance. The crowd, split down the middle, roared in equal parts awe and hatred. Rollins grabbed a mic and declared himself the new tribal architect, mocking Roman's silence and daring him to show his face. And for a moment, nothing happened. The lights didn't drop. No music hit. Just tension until the Titantron flickered. And a single line appeared in red lettering, pulsing like a heartbeat, "He's not coming to talk." The lights went out, and when they came back on, Roman Reigns was already in the ring. No music. No pyro. Just presence. His eyes locked on Solo. Not Rollins. Not the crowd. Just the man he once called his blood. The crowd went electric. What happened next wasn't a match. It was an execution. Roman didn't waste time. He lunged, no signature taunt, no slow pacing, just violent fists crashing into Solo Sikoa's face. The bell hadn't rung. Referees hadn't been called. This wasn't a sanctioned match. This was retribution. Rollins tried to interfere, but he never even reached the ropes because from the crowd, vaulting over the barricade, came a monstrous, hooded figure. The camera barely caught him before he leveled Seth Rollins with a running lariat that turned the arena upside down. It was Jacob Fatu, bandaged, bruised, and utterly unhinged. The place erupted. Solo, stunned, tried to retreat, but Roman cut him off. 2 Superman punches. A spear that shattered the steel steps. And then, Roman did something no one expected. He pulled out the tribal necklace, the one he gave Solo nearly a year ago. The one that signified loyalty, brotherhood, blood, and he ripped it in half on live television. The silence from the crowd was eerie. Then Roman took a mic, not to deliver a speech, but to whisper 4 words that echoed across the arena: "You're no longer family." He dropped the mic and then, together, Roman and Jacob Fatu dragged Solo Sikoa to the center of the ring. They didn't pin him. They didn't pose. They stood over him as tribal drums began to play over the PA system. A final, chilling note of ceremony, because this wasn't just punishment for betrayal. It was erasure, and as Rollins scrambled up the ramp, clutching his ribs, staring back in horror, it became clear the bloodline wasn't dead. It had just evolved, and now, it had nothing left to lose. But the war isn't over. Sources backstage say Solo Sikoa was taken from the arena immediately after the segment, under heavy security, and has been placed under storyline tribal banishment. He's been removed from all bloodline graphics, merchandise, and internal travel schedules. WWE is treating this as the most brutal expulsion in faction history. But is it really over? Not even close. Rollins is furious. In a post-show digital exclusive, he promised scorched earth revenge. And some say Solo, humiliated, discarded, and abandoned, might now become even more dangerous. Because a man with no family, no loyalty, and nothing left to prove is a man with no boundaries. And then there's Roman. One official described him as calmer than he's been in months. Another said he was smiling backstage, like a king who just executed a traitor. Because this wasn't just about kicking Solo out, it was about reclaiming control. And with Jacob Fatu reborn, Tangaloa reportedly arriving next week, and a new tribal doctrine rumored to be written by Paul Heyman himself, Roman's bloodline is no longer a family, it's a regime, and at the head of it sits a man who just proved that betrayal doesn't weaken him, it purifies him. So what comes next? Some say a rematch with Rollins at Survivor Series, with the full factions in play. Others believe Solo will now form his own rogue alliance, hell-bent on vengeance. But the most chilling theory? That Roman's purge has only just begun. Because what if Jimmy Uso is next? What if the tribal chief isn't finished carving out the rot? And what if the final battle isn't just about who leads the bloodline, but who survives it? Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: the war for the soul of WWE has begun, and Roman Reigns is no longer playing defense. He's rewriting the dynasty, with blood. Roman Reigns had made his statement loud and mercilessly clear. Solo Sikoa, the man who had once stood silent at his side, absorbing blows, enforcing orders, protecting the throne, was now discarded. Disowned. And not just in name, but in ritual. The destruction of the tribal necklace was no performance. It was a symbolic death sentence. And in the sacred eyes of the Inouye lineage, no exile cuts deeper, but behind the brutal purge lies a deeper danger. Because Roman Reigns didn't just lose a soldier. He released a monster. Backstage sources have confirmed that after SummerSlam, Solo Sikoa vanished. Not flown out, not escorted, vanished. No airport logs. No confirmed hotel check-ins. Security footage from the arena loading dock captured a black vehicle leaving just after 1 a.m., tinted windows, no license plate visible. Some believe it was Solo. Others think it wasn't WWE at all, but someone from outside, someone Rollins brought in, because now the questions aren't just about revenge, they're about escalation. Rollins has already begun planting new seeds. On the next night's Raw, he walked into the ring without Solo. No entourage. No backup. Just him. And he smiled. Smiled as if everything was going exactly to plan. Because Seth Rollins isn't just a disruptor. He's an architect. And Solo Sikoa wasn't his ace. He was the first of many dominoes. He looked into the camera and said it himself, "This isn't the end of Solo. It's the beginning of your end." And that's when the rumors started again, that Seth is building something bigger, something with pieces Roman can't see. One producer described it like this: Roman's reaction at SummerSlam was brutal. But brutal isn't the same as smart. He reacted emotionally. Seth is thinking 5 moves ahead. The most chilling speculation? That Seth never cared if Solo stayed loyal. That the whole plan was to drive a wedge, burn the family from the inside, and let Roman do the rest. Because now, Roman stands more alone than ever before. And when kings are isolated, that's when assassins strike. Insiders have also confirmed that Paul Heyman has gone dark. No public statements. No travel sightings. WWE internal memos simply mark his status as restricted creative access. That usually means one of two things: the character is being retooled, or the man is about to pull the trigger on a storyline that requires total secrecy. But something strange happened during a dark segment at a SmackDown taping in Newark. Roman Reigns came out to address the crowd after the cameras cut. He wasn't in character. He wasn't even wearing his gear. He stood in a hoodie and stared at the fans. Then, he said this: "You thought that was the end of Solo? Nah. That was just his rebirth. You'll see." He dropped the mic and walked out. No music. No smile. Just those words, and the next morning? WWE's official Instagram posted a black and white image. Just one. A chair in the middle of an empty locker room. On it? The torn